else? How to make apps look pleasing and easy to understand. Okay? Okay? Makes sense. I mean, if you understand how you communicate visually, of course, you're going to be able to make appealing stuff that can be seen. Because actually, we've been taught how to communicate verbally, like for many years since we were kids. But we've never been taught how to communicate visually, right? So hopefully today we're going to like shed some light on that and have some insights. Okay, so let's start. Just a sec, guys. Okay, so obviously we're going to be talking about design. So what is design? We're going to start by that. So design. What is design, guys? Well, design can have many answers actually. We can have many answers to this question. But let's say that design is actually a way to make something out of nothing. You could just like bash a lot of like many pictures into one picture. You're designing something, create something from scratch, create a character, create a poster. Design could be also a technical term in engineering as well, where they design an algorithm, design a mathematical solution. But here we're going to talk only about visual stuff, something that you can see. Okay. So before we actually start learning, we need to shed light into something. There are some important skills that we should have actually before we learn anything art related. Those are observation, simplification, and the ability, hope my handwriting is okay and readable, the ability to break down. Okay, what do I mean by that? Observation is actually very important in art or in design in general. So actually, yeah, when I mention the word design or art, what I mean is actually a general term. So a design could be an artwork, could be an illustration, could be a photo, could be a poster, something that you can see. So yeah, when you observe, actually you learn and you understand how to create things. But what do I mean by observe? Not just looking. You should understand how the things work, how to look at it from different angles. What's the texture of it? How does it taste if it has a taste? Something like that. You have to understand and feel a thing as if it was real. Simplification means like how to break the thing. Okay, let's give an example to make it easier. So let's see it like this is a human head, something like that. So if you are able to simplify this, you would look at it, for example, as a square. Maybe another square here. Maybe a cylinder here. So you've neglected all of the complicated details that we have in the face itself, and we broke it down to simple shapes. And that's actually the ability to break down. So once you simplify, you're going to be able to break down automatically. These are general skills, not for this class or session alone. They're general skills for designers and artists.
and people who create visual content in general, I mean. So my second point that I want to really highlight here is, yeah, so we're gonna talk about, okay, to create, you need to have three things. What are they? You need to have fundamental knowledge. You also need to have technical skills. And of course, the cherry on top, creativity. So before we even actually go to the creativity, we need to have these elements. They are very, very important. Of course, what makes you unique is the creativity, but without a base, your creativity will just like fall down. Okay, let me show you an example. Let's say we're building a castle or a tall building. Let's say this is a castle, for example. So we'll start by a base. See this as a base, for example, a rocky base, solid base. So once we established our base, we're gonna keep building, right? So we're gonna keep building our castle. Okay, once we reach this point, okay, we have a castle. Now we need to decorate our castle. We need to make it unique. So let's say you're gonna have some flags here. Let's say I want to have a dragon statue here that's wrapping around my castle. So looks like something unique. Anyway, so as you can see here, okay, let's say my fundamental knowledge is the base. And my technical skills is what made me able to build the base and the whole building itself. My creativity is the dragon and the flags and these things. So if I made some flaws here in the base, the building will fall down and crumble. So there is completely no point in decorating your piece or design without having a solid structure, a solid base, which is what we're gonna learn, fundamental knowledge. This is actually what we're gonna learn in this session, or in this class in general, I mean. So I'm gonna like erase everything. Is it okay if I erase everything in the whiteboard? You can communicate, guys, in the chat. I'm able to see the chat. Okay, so okay, good. Okay, so let's talk about shapes. What are shapes? Okay, let me give you a tip first before we talk about like the type of shapes. Shapes are everything and anything we see. If you think of it, actually, everything we see in our life, I mean, disregarding colors, lighting, shadow, these things, everything is made of shapes. It's either a line or a shape. Could be a square, could be rectangular, everything is a shape. If you look around you at this moment in the room, everything is a shape, actually. Everything, literally everything. Even the silhouette that's made by the cast shadow is actually a shape. So everything is a shape. So let's talk about shapes. Okay, shapes also divide into three sections. Well, we have many three sections here. Okay. The first one, we call them geometric shapes. And we have organic shapes. And the last one is abstract shape. Abstract shapes. Examples of these are, for the geometric shapes, squares, rectangles, circles. For the organic shapes, usually organic shapes are something that you see in nature. So it could be a leaf, doesn't have a specific structure, it's not united, could be messy, could be unorganized. Any random shape is organic actually. These are organic shapes. Abstract shapes are actually a mixture of different shapes. So they could be a mixture of organic shapes or geometric shapes, or they could be the mixture of both at the same time. Let's say an example. So let's look at this as a square and we have a circle here. So now, oh, okay, then there's an abstract shape. It's a mixture of different shapes at the same time. Something like this. Anyway, you don't have to worry today about the abstract shapes or the organic shapes. What we have to learn actually and understand, and deeply understand actually, is the geometric shapes. So let's dig into it. So I'm gonna erase the whiteboard right now. Hope it's okay with you guys. Okay, can all of you see the document here? Is it visible to all of you? Okay, good. So let's start. Yeah, okay, I spoiled it anyway. So guys, I want you to look at these shapes right now. Let's label them. So we have 1, 2, 3. Look at the 3 of them. And I'm gonna ask you like some questions and you have to answer which shape is which. So answer by 1, 2, or 3. Okay. So looking by these shapes, which one do you feel is the heaviest? Which one of them? Okay, we have Lukman, number 2, Alvin. Okay, most of you are saying 2. Okay.
Number 2.
Which one do okay, thanks. So which one do you think like is the most dangerous one? Which one do you feel is the most dangerous? That really can harm you?
Number
3. Why would it be number 3?
Because
Is
the
it because
shape is like a rough shape.
okay,
Difficult,
okay,
difficult to get.
okay. It also could cut you, right? So okay. So let's see what those shapes are. I think you've already guessed it or seen it actually. So those are the shapes actually. What I did right now is actually isolating you from the colors, from the values, from every other aspect of visual literacy, and only making you focus on the shape only. So we can only see here shapes. You don't know what the shape is, but you only see a shape. I mean, you don't know what the shape is actually is. Like here. Here we understand that this is a ball, this is a brick, this is a rock. So we know, and we can see colors, we can see other distractions that are also changing or manipulating us to make a judgment. So you'll understand what I meant by this in the following slides. Let's continue. Okay, so we'll start off. Okay, all can be really dangerous depending on how you use them. True, that's true. Or how heavy are they? It's true. Okay, so today, or now, we'll be talking about only geometric shapes. So I want you to focus only on shapes. Disregard colors, disregard any other aspect, composition, lighting, any other aspect, if you are well aware of it. So we'll start by a square. When we talk about squares, I want you to keep in mind and really remember this or these three attributes: unity, order, and balance. Also, strength. Remember, you answered number 2. You said it looks heavy. So yeah, it's true. It looks heavy. Solid. Trustable. This shape looks trustable. It looks solid. Something that I can lean on. I can depend on. That's what we think or feel of when we look at shapes, at the square shape. Let's see some examples. Yeah. Okay, if you look at this classroom, it was a picture of a classroom, and I broke it down into shapes to help you understand the picture here. So when we think about classroom, we think about like school, unity, order. I know it's boring, but that's how school is. Everything is in place, everything is organized, everything looks parallel, as you can see here. Like the chairs are squared, tables are squared, even the board is squared, everything is squared in there. I haven't seen actually a school with rounded chairs and tables. I think there is one. Someone told me once, but that would be really creative and really friendly to the student, as I believe. I mean, too much squares is boring. So let's talk about the technicality about the squares here. The squares in this scene actually gave it a really solid structure. Yes, it looks boring, but it's actually solid. It's something really strong. Everything, even the TV. Yeah, let me just highlight. Yeah, even the floor itself. Everything is made up of squares. We have also shapes here. Let's look into another example. I have to erase every time I scribble on something. Okay, look at this example here. So what I liked about this example is how the photographer, I don't know, consciously or subconsciously, because usually when you see designs, doesn't mean that the designer has intentionally put squares there or put like circles there or aligned it in a different color. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, but there's always an effect, no matter what the designer intention was. So the effect here, as I can see from the squares, is actually it gave it a really balanced and solid structure. So we have some symmetry here in the scene. Okay, let me highlight it here. As you can see here, we have the same structure here. We have the same. Guys, can you please mute your microphone? Okay, thanks. Okay, let's continue. So as you can see here, we have the same structure, the same shape, which is a square at the both sides of the screen, of the image itself. So if you zoom in here, if you don't want to be if you do want to be really distracted, I can't zoom more, but so when we have two different shapes, at the corners of the screen or the image, it gives balance. They act as pillars that hold the image together. We have the same thing here. Same thing here. So basically, the whole image is a bunch of squares. Yeah, you can see, you can see circles. There are some circles and triangles. But what rules is the quantity. If we have more squares, then squares rules, and they have more effect over the other shapes, which are. Yeah, true. They're at the same level. True. Kinda. But since we're looking at it from a different angle, that's composition. We're not talking about composition. Anyway, we'll come to that. Is rectangular far at the same category with squares? Of course. Of course. Rectangle actually is a square. A square is regarded as a like universal term for rectangular as well. Anything that has 4 angles. So let's move on. So we have a clearer understanding. By the way, if I really like took all of the colors from this image, I took everything and just like made it look like this one here. Yeah, like this one here. It would be boring. I mean, really boring, because they're just a bunch of squares. It's something solid, something dependable, strong. Yeah, we understand, we know it's something that's really good, or really, I mean, solid, but it's not really interesting. Nothing is really interesting about it. It may seem interesting here because you're looking at different colors, like there's a purplish glow at the background. There are some effects of brown with black, some different colors interacting together. But if they were all in gray, it would be really boring. So what I want you to understand from squares right now is they are solid. So squares are solid. You can see they are not fluid. We're going to understand what fluid means in a second. So use squares in your designs if you want them to look solid, trustable, strong, dependable. Keep in mind, too much of anything is bad, especially squares. Too much of squares will make the scene look really dull, believe me. You can try it, I mean, after this session, or we can try it together after a while, after we continue. So let's move on. Okay, triangles. Okay, I want you to compare between this cover here of the squares. So I want you to compare between the squares here on this cover Is it lagging with you guys? Oh, yeah, here. And also this cover. Do you see how energetic this looks? It looks interesting, right? I mean, I'm not saying that squares are useless. Yeah, they are important. They have their own, but triangles are much more interesting than squares. So as I mentioned earlier, what I want you to really focus on here are these keywords. They are very important. Aggression, energy, tension, also danger. And yeah, and one very important aspect or attribute, which is direction. When we want to point at something, there is always a triangle, or mostly there's a triangle that's pointing. Even the tool that we use to point, the arrow. Have you ever seen an arrow like this? I've never seen actually before. Or an arrow like this. It doesn't feel like it's pointing to something, right? It's a triangle that's pointing. So triangles are always pointing. So it's also a tool that you can use to point someone or the viewer to the focal point. Okay, what does focal point mean? Focal point. Focal point is the place or the point on the image that you want the viewer to really focus on and pay attention at, especially that point itself. So if you really want to make someone look at a certain place in your image, you can use triangles, not squares. I mean, you can see from this example and like the coming examples as well. Okay, let's move on to the example. We have to erase at each slide. Okay, let's look at this example here. So this is an artwork done by Florian Dreyer. You can check him on ArtStation if you want to. But look at his usage of squares. I mean, the use here is really incredible. The way he used, the triangles, sorry. If you look here, you will see that our focal point is this. Our focal point is here. This is our focal point. Or could make it bigger, like this. This area is our focal point. The intention of the artist is to make us look at this point, the image, the castle or whatever it is that has shining light anyway. So as you can see here, you have rocks, mountains of rocks, and they are somehow pointing towards this area, let alone making the scene look spiky and dangerous. They're all pointing. I mean, not directly pointing like this, because it would make the scene unnatural. They're rocks, they're not clay. But still, they look spiky. The environment looks dangerous, looks aggressive. So remember, aggression. Yeah, same goes here. At this. Have you noticed that mostly, not all, but mostly villains are designs with triangles? Why? Because triangles are like a sign of danger, a sign of energy. Like the villain should be energetic, should be someone swift, someone sharp. So this is the Joker. Of course, you know him. I like how the artist here, or the designer, have made significant highlight of triangles here. You see, everywhere there's a triangle, let alone the major triangle or the biggest one, which is the shape of the face. So the shape of the face is actually a very large triangle, which makes the character looks dangerous. Yeah, if you think back like at the cartoons you used to watch or still watch, or the anime if you're watching anime, most of the characters are actually pointy, especially in cartoons. So the bottom line here of the triangles is actually you use them. Oh, it should be triangles here anyway. So use them if you want to have energy and flow. So it could be energy, could be danger, could be aggression. It's really up to you. But remember, there is flow. So don't neglect this. That's something that's really going to help you using triangles. Okay, let's move on. So our third shape here, which is the most friendly and my favorite as well, is the circle. Circles are a universal sign of friendliness, completeness, harmony. What do you mean by completeness? If you see in squares, when you draw a square, usually we start with a point like this, then stop. Then another like line, then stop, then a line, then stop, like this. Same goes to the triangle. Stop, then a line. But with the square, it's only one. You don't stop. So there's flow. It's complete. It seems complete. And there's also harmony. You can make harmonious shapes in circles. We're gonna see some examples later on that. Yeah, so I found this. Yeah, someone is saying, yeah, actually, yes, it's happen. So we're saying this cute puppy here. What made the cute puppy? What made the puppy cute? Such a tongue twister. It's actually that he is a bunch of squares mashed together. If the puppy was actually edgy like this, yeah, so if the puppy was edgy, he might seem a bit actually cute, Still, he might seem a bit cute, but I mean, it looks weird, right? He might look dumb as well anyway. But if the puppy actually was pointy like this, he might seem rather dangerous. We're gonna draw some puppies later on, but let's say here. So as you can see here, a circle actually emphasizes the cuteness or the friendliness of the shape. The more you exaggerate the use of it, the more friendly the shape is, and at the same time, the more boring the image becomes if it's only a bunch of squares. So we have to also be worried of that. Same here. Same goes to this snowman. See how many squares? Two large squares that makes the structure of it. And everything in him is actually a bunch of squares, especially for the scarf. I mean, except the scarf. So, the bottom line here is what's highlighted. You have to look for the compassion and friendliness and harmony and design if you're looking at squares, at circles, I mean. So use circles to convey that feeling. Okay, since like we've talked a lot about different shapes, let's make a hexagon about them, if you know what a hexagon is. Okay, let's make it simple. So we have a circle, such a bad circle. We have a circle, we have a square, and we have a triangle. Okay, let's create our hexagon here. If you know what hexagon is, if you actually played video games before, there's a status bar, or like a map of attributes of the character, like its strength, its knowledge, its speed, stuff like that. So we're gonna make the same for shapes to make the idea of or the process of selecting them easier for you guys. So the attributes will be aggression. Let me just type it down for you. I think it's gonna be easier. Your mind's not typing. So aggression, trust, yeah, we have here trust, friendliness, we have dynamic or flow. So there's motion, it's not static, it's not going. We have harmony. Same goes here. I'm not gonna repeat it again. It's gonna take some time. So we're gonna just use some shortcuts. So A is for aggression, H is for harmony, dynamic or flow, FR is for friendliness, and T is for trust. Same thing here. Okay, let's start by the square. So the square is friendly, so it should be high here. Is it reliable? It is to some extent. Maybe here. Aggression? No, it's not. It's actually the complete opposite of aggression. Harmony, of course. Flow. Yes, there is flow. So these are the attributes of the circle. Let's look at the square. Does the square have aggression? Yes, could be, but not as much as the triangle. So to be in the middle, right here. Trust, of course, it's trustable, reliable, friendly, could be in the middle, not really friendly and not really dangerous. There isn't much flow. It's actually the opposite. There's no flow in it. And harmony. No harmony in the square. Okay. Oh, we forgot strength. We forgot strength. Let me add that. It's really important. Strength. Okay. Nothing changes for the circle. But it changes actually for the square. Okay. Let's see the triangle. Triangle is aggressive. It's not trustable. It's actually the opposite of trust. It's not friendly. It is strong to some extent. Of course, it has flow. Not necessarily has harmony. So it could be something like this. So if you could take a screenshot of this, I think it would be helpful for you, for some of you, I mean, who's struggling with shapes. So guys, up to this point, do you have any questions about shapes? Or any question at all? Hello, no questions? Okay. If there are no questions, then we may proceed. Okay, right now we're gonna look at some examples on the use of these shapes. Only the shapes. We're not gonna talk about the colors, not the composition, not anything else, only the shapes now. At some examples, some designs actually, some poster designs. Yep, let's look at this. It's actually a comparison between two shapes. We can figure them out. They are the triangle and the square. So if you look at Batman, Batman is a hero. So a hero should appear dependable, strong, solid, and someone or something that you can trust, that you can really lean on. So if you take a look at him, what's happened here? Do you still see the PDF, guys? Okay, just a sec. Oh, now you look. Okay, let me get back. It's actually a bit laggy in my device. Okay, good, good. Oh, I see. Okay. So if you look at the face of Batman here, it's a bit bigger. Yeah, I'm zooming in actually, so that's why it's a bit bigger. If you look at Batman here, his face is actually a big chunk. It's a big square. Yeah, you might see some triangles actually. If you really look closely, there's a triangle here. There are some triangles here, like his eyes. Yeah, they actually put an effect. There is an effect to that. But remember, we said the quantity rules. So if there is much of a square, then the square rules. We have more attributes for the square than the triangles here, because It's the biggest. It's the one that occupies the most of the image. So that's why. Even his jaw is square. So he looks really solid and strong. Let's look on comparison to the Joker here. Batman seems bad. Like, does he look bad, or does he seem bad in terms of personality? Anyway, so the Joker here looks sneaky. Remember when you said, like, villains usually have triangles in the designs, in their shapes, in their faces. So his face, the Joker face here, is actually a triangle. You see? Not a perfect triangle, but it's actually a triangle. So let's look at the uses of triangles here as well. If you look at this arm, it's actually pointing somewhere. It's pointing at his face. And it's also resembling a triangle. So here the triangles have been used in two ways. To showing like how aggressive and how dangerous, how sneaky this character is, and also to point our attention with this element here. It's not the only one that's pointing our attention. There are different aspects like colors and contrast and stuff. But remember, we said we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to isolate ourselves to shapes only in this session. So if we look at the background here, it doesn't hold much effect, but actually if you look at closer look, there are some edgy textures. Edgy textures are actually triangles. They don't really put much emphasis on the character as the shape of the face of the character itself, but they still have some effect. Let's look at another example to get a clear idea. His fangs, let's get back to it, okay? It's true, his fangs. I mean, we could discuss this endlessly. I mean, his fangs, his nose as well. I mean, nose are like triangles, right? We know that. But they have an effect. So there are like many things to consider. But as long as you get the idea, that's what matters, I mean. As long as you get the idea here. Let's check this. This is actually also a good example. So you see these two, the characters from the same environment, they have the same vibe. But if we break down this character down into shapes, simple shapes, we're gonna notice that his head is actually a square. His body is a square. Do you see that? Look how bulky his arm is. This character looks really strong. If you look at this, yeah, the character designer here just wanted to put some spices, or like to make the thing spice up. So he added triangles to make him a bit dangerous anyway. So, but what rules here is the square, because the square occupies most of the character. Let's look at the other character here. Look at his overall body shape. It looks more like a triangle than a square. So since the biggest part in his body is a triangle, so he looks swifty, dangerous, not necessarily that dangerous. He holds aggression, but not necessarily much aggression, but he looks fast. This one looks slow, looks heavy. This one looks fast. This one looks strong. This one looks sneaky in a way. But what's really popping is him being fast, actually. Oh yeah, there's something I really want to highlight to you guys. Let's switch to the whiteboard here. So we have a square, we have a triangle. What do you call this? Or this? Oh, let me just make it a bit trickier. Oh shit, I deleted everything. Okay. What do you call this? Is it a triangle or a square? Actually, it's both. So you would think, like, logically, since actually a synthesis or like a mixture of two shapes at the same time, does it have both of the attributes or like one of them? Which one is the stronger here? Which attribute like occupies the most or give us the the feeling of the shape itself? Well, this shape actually has the ability to direct direction. Direction is here. And it looks a bit solid, not really solid as the square. I mean, this one is actually more to a triangle. So if it was like this, it looks solid. Somehow it looks solid like a square, but it's also directing, but not really directing. So here, solidity in this design is higher. Direction in this design is higher. So if you put too much of a shape, that attributes follows. I hope you understood, what I mean here. Okay, let's see an example of this. I think everything goes well with examples. Let's see an example. I don't know if you noticed or not, but let's see. It's actually the first example we saw. Yeah, this is easier. Yeah, if you look here in the classroom, it's actually slight change, if you know. Yeah. If you see, this really small triangle is actually pointing us toward the whiteboard in a way. If you redraw this shape here, it's gonna appear like this. It looks like a path, like something ends somewhere if you continue. It has some depth to it. So that's what I mean by direction. So let's get back to the rest of the examples. Okay, let's look at this. If you notice this design, you would say like the one that has the majority of the attention here are like circles. So if you break it down, there is a flow here. You can see some flow. You can see some harmonies. Actually, the colors used here are harmonious. We're gonna get to that in the second session. I mean, so let's make this actually different. Let's make it pointy. See how it goes. So let's think this is like some sharp shredding piece that has rods all over the place. Looks dangerous. Looks like coronavirus, doesn't it? Anyway, so this shape here changed completely. The feeling we get changed completely as well. Now we feel a bit scared. We might feel anxious because actually we changed the shapes. We used triangles. Okay, let's use another shape. Let's use something else here. What if I used squares? You can't really cover it all, but so it looks rigid, doesn't it? It looks bulky and rigid. doesn't have flow, it's not dynamic, there's no motion in it. Brick-like, yeah, exactly, brick-like, as if it was a structure that's meant to sit there and hold something on it or be strong and be reliable. Yes, like a brick, exactly. So it lost all of the effect of it, right? That's why the most suitable shape here is a circle. It's complete, like it conveys completeness. It feels like a government ad, true. They always use squares. Also insurance companies and banks. So yeah, squares give us a feeling of completeness, harmony, and flow. Mostly they're used for flow and harmony in design. But it's up to you how you use them, as long as you understand the theory behind it. Okay, let's look at this design. Once you look at this design, but since actually the quality is poor here, you cannot really see the emphasis, but let's break it down. So, as you see, the shape of her body is actually resembling a triangle, and it's pointing somewhere. So supposedly it wants us to see here. But because of contrast that we're gonna talk about later on, we actually look at the whole shape and then look here. But in terms of shapes, it's actually meant, or if even wasn't intentional, it could be used as this, as directional tool, to make us look at this. And sorry for the low resolution, you cannot really read, but you get the idea. They use the directional attribute of the triangle here, not the dangerous attribute, directional one. Okay, let's switch to this. Yeah, we're talking about a government ad, right? Let's look at this ad. It's a bank ad. So the credit card, of course, is going to be square. It's the nature of it. It has an effect. Not necessarily is what it was meant, but it has an effect. We're actually discussing the effects here, not the intentions of the design. So the shadow is also considered a shape, by the way. As you remember, we said everything is a shape. Everything is made of shapes. So there's balance. The size of this is the same size of this shape here. There's some sort of balance. Not exact balance, but there is, because this image, this complete design is actually a bunch of squares mashed up together. Table. That's why actually usually if you go out there and look for designs and posters about like banks, agents, insurance companies, in short, people who want you to pay something for trust, or they want you to trust them, and they always say in their motto and slogans, we are trustable, we are reliable. Usually they use shapes like squares. They depend on squares, they love them. Because actually they make the point go out and they achieve their purpose with it. Let's look at another design. Okay, guys, I think it's better to have a break now to make you refresh yourselves. Then we can continue. We're gonna have a break of 10 minutes. Okay, guys, shall we continue? I hope you're fresh now. And yeah, before we continue, do you have any question at all until now, up to this point? About the shapes, about the designs, the examples we showed, anything? Okay, if no, then we shall continue. Yeah, let's look at this design here. So I want to ask you, what do you see? What shape does conquer this image? Which one? Which shape is the most influential here? Anyone? Just try. Square, square, squares. Okay. Yep, I agree. Actually, square actually pops out really well here. The J-looking thingy. Oh, you mean like this? Actually, it's a shield. It's supposed to be a shield. If you're referring to the J-looking thing by this, it's actually a field. Circle on pillow. Oh, you mean there are squares here? Or what do you mean? Anyway, yeah, actually what pops out in the image is actually, yeah, this shape here, which actually is not a J thing, it's actually a shield. It's supposed to be a shield, something like this, like a fighting shield. Yeah, so let's outline the shapes. It's normal, we're humans, everyone has his own perspective. So we have this, we have this, like a bunch of squares all over the place. So it makes the scene look trustable. You really want to trust this. Makes it something reliable. So they did a really great job actually in using squares here. And of course, not everything literally is a bunch of squares. There are some organic shapes, some different elements to spice the scene up. Otherwise, it would be really boring if it was like completely squares, 100%. Of course not. Yeah, everything goes subconsciously. Actually, we as humans, when we look at visual elements or pictures, we analyze everything, but subconsciously. So we get a feeling. So we just get the end result. We don't go through all of the process. Our conscious mind is actually what's processing, intentionally. So right now, what we're doing actually is we are doing the job of the subconscious mind. We are trying to understand how our mind thinks and breaks down anything, things and elements. So we are experts actually in this by nature as humans, without even realizing it. We just get the feeling. So if someone really understands the psychology behind this, you can really make great designs. You can really like achieve what you really want, what you want your customer or viewer look at, feel, or look at, and what do you want them to do. You can convey all of that by the use of shapes and other elements that we're going to discuss in the coming sessions. Let's look at this example. So apparently, this is a drink, but not just like any drink. It's an energy drink. So what I liked about this design is how the designer, I don't know if it was intentionally, but how the effect got us. There are like a number of triangles fighting for our attention. Like an enormous amount of triangles. Yes, there's like one square like thrown here and there, but what rules, what conquers in the design of the bottle itself are triangles. So it gives a really like a super energetic feel to it. Let's look to another design. to judge. Yep, we all know this brand. It's really famous. The Red Bull. So once we look at the Red Bull, once we zoom in to here, let me just zoom for you guys. Oh, I cannot zoom anymore. Hope it's clear for you. If you look at the logo, yeah, don't look at this actually. Actually, yeah, it's a triangle. It's a triangle. It has its effect. It's like a play button. It's like like in conveying the idea of let's go, let's play this video, let's play your life. So just hit the play button. Anyway, that's not our topic here, even though it's a triangle, and a triangle is a universal sign of motion and energy and action as well. But let's look at the logo here. If you look to the shape of these balls, it's actually a triangle. It looks energetic, dangerous, might not be their intention here, but it looks energetic for sure. So even Red Bull is using the shape language to emphasize and convey ideas about their products and their intentions. Believe me, guys, every day we're being manipulated and persuaded by advertisements using the psychology of designs. Let's look at this. Yeah, once I looked at this design, I noticed how they used the squares obsessively. If you see here, once you look at it and you start breaking down the shapes, sorry. Okay, we see a circle here. Even there's a flow in the stream of chocolate. Look, there's a flow. And the flow can only be applied by circles or its alternatives, something that's curvy, that makes a circle. See, everything here is curvy. There's a flow. Yeah, and these drops actually are much more of a triangle and a square meshed together. But they don't have much effect because they are small and they don't occupy much of the image itself. Their brand as well is actually a square. Well, actually, if I was in their place, I would use a square as well. I mean, a circle as well, sorry. Because I'm actually advertising a piece of chocolate. Who would advertise a piece of chocolate with triangle? It's possible if if I want to imply action or aggression in my design or my chocolate itself. Does it pump you to energy that makes you really? Oh yeah. You're right. Yep, it looks like this. It has a really energetic look to it. Even the package actually is a triangle, something like this. And they also made great use of the colors to go with the triangle. We're going to discuss that in the second session. So yeah, if your intention is to convey energy and to make it look interesting, I mean, this design looks interesting actually, but we're talking in terms of shapes. There's a flow. What made this design interesting? Oh yeah, you can see here, there's flow. You look at the red lines, you see the flow? It's actually what made the design look really interesting. Let's continue to the other designs. And let's interpret their effect. Okay, it's the same brand here. Same thing. Like most of the designs actually are using squares. Sorry, circles. See, we have two big circles here. And of course, our focal point. This is our focal point. Let's color our focal point in a different color to make it pop. This is our focal point. If you really pay a close attention, you would notice that there are like some tiny triangles here pointing to the candy. They are tiny, they don't hold much effect, but actually there is a slight effect to it. They're pointing us here. It's getting messy now. They're pointing us here, see? But with a very small effect. Okay, guys, then. Up until now, do you have any questions about shapes or these designs or the examples we talked about? Okay, if now, let's create something with the aid of shapes. So guys, can you see my screen right now? Is it visible to you? Okay, great. Okay, great then. So let's start actually make something with the shapes. Let's start manipulating shapes. I mean, let's sketch with them. So let's say I want to make a face here, for example. Just a face. This is actually more valuable to illustrators if you're watching. Oh yeah, there's a note I want to make or highlight. Since like some of you guys are photographers, designers, and you're actually a big mix of different fields. Designers and illustrators have a really great benefit because they can actually create something out of nothing. I mean, not like out of nothing in terms of creation, but in terms of the poster or the design itself. You can actually manipulate where you want to put your structure. You want to create squares, you want to create circles, you want to mash a square with a circle, with a triangle on top, you can create. When it comes to photographers, they really take much effort to wait for the right scene, to wait for the right moment, to plan everything. So it's tougher for them to capture. So we should really appreciate this. This ability to be able to create from scratch. It could be learned, and it's not that tough. So let's start creating. Okay, let's make this shape as a square. So okay, let's say we have glasses here. It's gonna be just a quick sketch to illustrate for you guys. Nothing fancy, just so I'm trying to emphasize the square here as much as I can. So my idea of him is being as an accountant, as someone that I
حافظه خلاص. I guess the internet is not square enough.
Guys, can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Okay, can you tell me where did the sound get disconnected? In which part? Or was the screen visible all the time, but only the sound was disconnected? Just the sound. Okay, good. Okay, so I'll repeat from the beginning quickly. So we were saying that I used different shapes to design these characters. For this guy here, the screen is paused at the drawing. You mean now or before? Is it okay now? Okay, good. So I use different shapes for different characters to emphasize a feeling or convey a feeling or a message to the viewer. So this guy here seems dependable, trustable, and responsible as well, because they're actually fall back to this shape. They're attributes of the suhair. Oh my god, such a tongue twister. Square, circle, triangle. Okay, for this character here, it seems dangerous. Oh my god, the screen has gone out. And now, can you see the screen? Okay, good. Okay. For this character here, the screen is being a triangle. Sneaky, right? So these attributes actually fall to the triangle. Okay, so I'm gonna repeat. Guys, have you seen the process of me creating these spaces? Did you see the process? Not the third. Okay, I'm gonna repeat the third. Actually, it looks creepy in a way because it's too good to be true. It looks too innocent, and because of the eyes. Okay, I'll repeat everything for you guys. Oh, you didn't, but only the third, right? Okay, never mind. I'll just repeat all of them for you guys very quickly. So I just started first with a circle, just a very structural circle. It's easier for us to construct this with it. So right now I'm focusing on the square here. I want to make my character look like a square to give a feeling of a square. So I chose my character to have classes. I didn't choose any circle classes or triangular classes. It shows square. You know, we have a different character. Okay. See, I'm making the edges look pointy, bulky. Okay, let's give him a hairstyle. Okay. See, we have a square now. This guy looks trustable, organized. He looks like an accountant. I see him as an accountant. Do you see the same? Do you see an accountant to you guys? Okay. Okay. This shape here, I mean, this character here should resemble a triangle. So let's start with the eyes. I like how you guys make jokes with the attribute. Means you really understood each attribute. That's good. So here's our character here. With a pointy face. Oh, let's make it even pointier. I really want to make it look evil. Okay. This is our character, which is a villain actually. Supposed to be a villain. I can give him sharp eyes. It will be even more exaggerated, but let's make the eyes rounded. See, I'm using more and more triangles. So he looks dangerous, he looks sharp, and sneaky. Just a typical villain, your everyday villain. Okay, let's look at this guy here. Let's give him big eyes. Since you want to emphasize the square here, I mean the circle, you should focus on the overall shape of the face itself. Okay, you say, why do we conceive shapes differently? Is it nature or nurture? Okay, that's a deep question actually. But the way I look at it is since we were children, we get exposed to the world. So we learn what shapes are. Yeah, I got your meaning. So we look at what shapes are. We see cars, we see buildings, we see all the heavy things. I mean, most of them, they're at the shape of a square. We look at the sharp things that can hurt us, like knives, really pointy and sharp things. They are triangles. So I feel like we developed something. I'm not sure of this. I mean, that's a really deep question. But if you really want to know how do we really came to this point of really seeing these shapes with these attributes, there are actually plenty of researches they did before. I mean, scientists worked on this. That's how they discovered the attribute of shapes. So actually, I urge you to go and search about that. You can share the knowledge with us in the group if you found something interesting. So I think it's a mix of both. There are some aspects of instinct that goes into our perception of it. Babies are more circular and we find them more cute. Yep, I agree with you. I completely agree. That's another way to put it. Okay. So she doesn't only look dangerous, sneaky. She is dangerous and sneaky. Okay, he looks creepy. Let's make him look nice and cute. So it's just a doodle to show you guys. So this guy looks the pointer makes him look creepy. Yep. Gives some sense actually, yeah. But anyway, overall, it looks friendly. Maybe creepy. Does he look creepy? He does look creepy in a way. Maybe it's too good to be true. He's too friendly. He looks too friendly, which is weird. Yeah, exactly. It's a nasty world we're living in. You can't really trust a lot. If it's too friendly, it's dangerous, right? Okay, guys, then we tried this. We tried the shapes with faces. Let's try them with dogs. Okay, let's try dogs. Dogs, I think, should be interesting to you guys. Okay, let's start this by a square. I don't know where I'm going with this, but let's go with the flow. So we're designing a dog here. We're drawing a dog. Okay. Remember, I'm focusing on the square here. I want to achieve the square look, the square attribute, the square feeling. And I always admired this dog from Tom and Jerry. If you watched this series, of course you did. Who didn't? Oh, the software I'm using is called Procreate. It's an iPad, but it's actually the same as Photoshop. Yeah, exactly, Procreate. That's how it's spelled. So I don't want to get lost in the details here. I just want to show you the square. Yeah, the square. Okay, let's add a triangle here. Okay. Okay, guys, as you can see, we finished. We're about to finish our first dog. Just a rough sketch. Okay, so let's try to draw a dog with a different shape. Let's try triangle this time. Oh, let's start with the square first. Oh, circle, I mean. Okay, so circles means cute, right? We need to make our dog look cute. This dog looks stoned for some reason. But doesn't hide the fact that it's cute in a way. Okay. It looks sick. See, the eyes actually emphasize a lot. You gonna make it? See how it changed the eyes? It changed actually some of the feelings you get about the dog. I don't want to make this an illustration class, but just pointing an aspect here. Okay, we have a dog here. Just a simple dog. Now it's the triangle. Okay, so we're looking for a triangle here, right? Okay, look at this dog here. Looks dangerous. So we use the triangle here. Okay, let's try it out with the shape of the creature itself, the dog. Okay, the body, I mean. Just quickly. See this dog? He looks strong. He looks large. He looks strong. If you can see here, I used two squares, like one for the body, one for the head. That's the main structure. Okay, this dog here. I can't make it completely round. It's not believable, but could be something like this. Okay, so this dog, you want to think of him. Okay, so okay, let's make him. Yeah, something like this. Just a little. So you see the difference? See the difference that each drawing made, each doodle, I mean, each sketch made. This one looks heavy. Looks heavy and strong. This one looks a bit cute in a way, but it's most certainly not heavy, strong, or dangerous. This one looks fast, even though it's making stitch a bit, but it looks dangerous. So you get the point here, right? Let's try it out with triangle dog, this dog. It does the dog job actually, which is to protect. I know that there may be like different types of dogs. One to cuddle, one to protect you, one to play with. So, okay, let's make tanks. Let's make tanks. So if you're making a tank, okay, tanks usually are square shape, right? Okay, so we have a tank here. Really quick sketch of a tank. Okay, we used a bunch of squares here. Okay, let's create a tank with circles. Such a cute tank. Who would go towards this? They will most certainly die. Looks so weak for a tank. Actually, you can see the effective shapes here. How this looks strong. It looks like a snowman, yeah, which cannot fight. Cute. It's a tank. It should be dangerous. It should look heavy. Okay, let's look at a triangular shape. I've never seen a triangular tank before, but let's come up with one here. Let's dive into some creativity. Okay, should have a pointy end. Looks like cake. Okay, this tank looks dangerous. It looks dangerous, but it looks, as it looks dangerous, it looks as well as light. This one looks strong, heavy. Yeah, some fancy superhero ride. So good. As I can see that you really understood, you grasped the idea of shapes up until now. So do you have any question at all about shapes, about shape language? Okay, if not, we're gonna end our session here, but before we end, I'm gonna tell you about the assignment. So we're gonna have an assignment for the first session. I'm gonna like give you a bunch of designs, poster designs, advertisements, and I want you to outline the shapes and write your comments. As we did, just take the design of the poster, outline where you see a shape. It could be a square, circle, or a triangle, and just write your comments. Okay, you think this shape gives this effect, or conveys this feeling to us. And if you think that you can like change the shape to make it better, just write it in your comments. I mean, beside the picture. And that's all, yeah. You can submit. I'll create a folder for you, Google Drive, to submit the comments with the designs and outlines. So thanks for having you guys. Stay safe.